Most fans know Babe Ruth as the first man to smash 500 home runs. But here's the twist: who was the second? The answer isn't as widely remembered, and that's the real shame. His name was Jimmie Foxx. They called him the Beast, and when you see the numbers, you'll understand why. In 1932, he belted 58 home runs, just too shy of Ruth's all-time record at the time. He won 3 MVP awards, captured a Triple Crown, and by age 32, he had already joined the 500 home run club. Foxx wasn't just about raw power. He paired his thunderous swing with a high batting average, the rare combination that made him a nightmare for pitchers. For nearly a decade, he was the one man who could rival Ruth and Gehrig, the only hitter who made fans wonder if the great Bambino might actually have a successor. That's the story of Jimmie Foxx, how baseball's forgotten giant rose to the top, and why his name deserves to be remembered alongside the immortals. Jimmie Foxx's story begins in the quiet farmlands of Sudlersville, Maryland. Born in 1907, he was the son of a tenant farmer, and like many boys of that era, his early life was filled with hard labor and simple living. But even as a teenager, one thing stood out: Foxx was built like no other. By age 14, he already had the frame of a grown man, shoulders broad, and hands strong from farm work. Baseball found him early. Local teams noticed the young powerhouse and invited him to play in semi-pro games before he was even old enough to vote. His bat speed, his raw strength, and his fearless approach at the plate made him a spectacle. When most boys his age were worried about school exams, Foxx was facing men twice his age and beating them. His break came thanks to legendary manager Connie Mack of the Philadelphia Athletics. Always on the lookout for talent, Mack was tipped off about the teenage slugger from Maryland. In 1925, when Foxx was just 17 years old, Mack signed him to the A's. Imagine that! Before he had even finished high school, Jimmie Foxx was putting on a big league uniform. At first, he was used sparingly, often as a catcher or a utility man. But it didn't take long before his bat made it impossible to keep him on the bench. Reporters wrote that Foxx had the kind of raw, explosive power you simply couldn't teach. One scout said, "He doesn't just hit the ball, he mauls it." By the late 1920s, the Athletics had a young star in the making, but nobody knew yet just how big he would become, or how quickly he'd force himself into the conversation with the game's greatest legends. By 1929, the Philadelphia Athletics were ready to challenge the mighty Yankees for American League supremacy, and Jimmie Foxx was at the heart of it. No longer the teenage prospect, he had grown into a terrifying slugger. That season, Foxx hit .354 with 33 home runs, and the Athletics stormed to a World Series title. At just 21 years old, he was already a champion. But it was the early 1930s when Foxx truly arrived. In 1932, he put together one of the greatest offensive seasons baseball had ever seen: 58 home runs, 169 RBIs, a .364 batting average. He came within 2 swings of tying Babe Ruth's legendary 60-homer mark, and for the first time, fans seriously wondered if someone could dethrone the Sultan of SWAT. He won the American League MVP that year, and then won it again in 1933, a season that might have been even better. That year, Foxx claimed the Triple Crown, batting .356, blasting 48 home runs and driving in 163 runs. He wasn't just hitting for power, he was dominating pitchers in every possible way. Connie Mack, usually a reserved man, called Foxx the greatest right-handed hitter I've ever seen. By 1935, the Athletics dynasty was fading, and Foxx was sold to the Boston Red Sox. But far from slowing down, he carried his thunder to Fenway Park. In 1938, he crushed 50 home runs and drove in 175 RBIs, earning his 3rd MVP. At that moment, Foxx was more than just a star. He was baseball's ultimate slugger, the man who had succeeded Babe Ruth as the game's most feared hitter. During this stretch, pitchers dreaded facing him. Stories spread of Foxx hitting balls so far they seemed to vanish into the horizon. Hall of Famer Lefty Gomez once joked, "He has muscles in his hair." Another pitcher simply said, "He hits the ball harder than any man alive." For nearly a decade, Jimmie Foxx wasn't just in the conversation with Ruth and Gehrig, he was their equal, the one player who made fans believe a new king of baseball had arrived. At his peak, Jimmie Foxx was nothing short of terrifying. From 1932 through 1938, he was the most dangerous hitter in baseball, not just in terms of power, but in the way he combined raw strength with consistency at the plate. In those 7 seasons, he averaged nearly 40 home runs, well over 130 runs batted in, and a batting average that hovered around .340. In an era when pitchers still had the advantage, Foxx looked like he was playing a different sport. The summer of 1932 was his coming-out party. That year, Foxx slammed 58 home runs, falling just 2 shy of Babe Ruth's mythical record of 60. Fans across the country whispered that Foxx might be the man to finally surpass the Babe. But what made him even more terrifying was that he wasn't a one-dimensional slugger. He also hit .364 and drove in 169 runs. It was a season that would have defined anyone else's career. For Foxx, it was just the beginning. In 1933, he followed it up with one of the greatest offensive performances in baseball history. That year, Foxx claimed the Triple Crown batting .356, blasting 48 home runs and driving in 163 RBIs. He was voted American League MVP for the 2nd straight season, cementing his status as the game's most feared hitter. Reporters called him the right-handed Babe Ruth, but many believed Foxx was even more complete, combining Ruth's thunder with Lou Gehrig's consistency. When the Philadelphia Athletics dynasty began to crumble financially, Foxx was sold to the Boston Red Sox in 1936. For many stars, this would have meant a decline. For Foxx, it was simply a new stage. In Fenway Park, with its inviting left-field wall, Foxx put on a show. The highlight came in 1938, when he hit 50 home runs, drove in an incredible 175 runs, and walked 119 times. His batting average that year, .349. For the 3rd time, he was named MVP. Pitchers were left without answers. They would pitch around him, only to see him draw a walk and then score anyway. They would challenge him and watch the ball disappear into the bleachers. Lefty Gomez, the great Yankees pitcher, once joked, "He has muscles in his hair." Others weren't laughing. They admitted Foxx made them feel helpless, as if the strike zone belonged to him and him alone. What made him unique was the intimidation factor. Ruth had the aura of a showman. Gehrig had the image of the Iron Horse. But Foxx was sheer, unshakable power. Teammates described the sound of his bat as like a shotgun blast. Fans marveled at how effortlessly he could change a game with a single swing. By the time he turned 32, Foxx had already joined the exclusive 500 home run club, becoming the youngest player in history to do so. At that moment, many believed it was inevitable. Jimmie Foxx would one day chase down Ruth's record of 714 home runs and claim the crown as the game's greatest slugger. For 7 glorious years, the beast reigned supreme. But as baseball often reminds us, no reign lasts forever. But baseball has a way of humbling even the mightiest. For Jimmie Foxx, the fall came swiftly, and it shocked those who had once believed he would rewrite the record books. By the early 1942s, Foxx was only in his mid-30s, but his body began to betray him. Years of carrying the Athletics, then the Red Sox, had taken their toll. Nagging injuries chipped away at his power, and pitchers who once feared him started finding ways to pitch past him. The same swing that once launched baseballs into the night sky no longer had the same explosion. Off the field, Foxx struggled with another opponent, alcohol. What began as casual drinking grew into dependency, and teammates whispered that his habits were wearing him down faster than age ever could. Combined with injuries, the once unstoppable beast was suddenly mortal. His numbers dipped dramatically. After hitting 36 home runs in 1940, he never hit more than 19 inches a season again. By 1942, he was traded to the Chicago Cubs, a shadow of the player who had terrified the league. He bounced to the Phillies, then briefly tried his hand as a pitcher during World War II, but the dominance was gone. Financial troubles only deepened his struggles. Despite earning fame, Foxx never accumulated wealth. Like many players of his era, he didn't have the lucrative contracts or endorsements modern stars enjoy. After baseball, he took odd jobs coaching, managing minor league teams, even working as a school athletics director. For fans who remembered his glory days, it was painful to see a man once hailed as Ruth's successor reduced to scraping by. And then came the cruelest twist. In 1967, at just 59 years old, Jimmie Foxx died suddenly, choking while eating dinner at his brother's home. It was a quiet, tragic end for a man who had once been the loudest bat in baseball. His decline was more than a loss of numbers. It was a story of how quickly greatness can fade, how even the brightest stars can dim when life's burdens grow too heavy. Today, Jimmie Foxx's name is carved into the walls of Cooperstown. But for many casual fans, his story feels strangely forgotten. He was elected to the Hall of Fame in 1951, an honor that recognized the enormity of his career. 534 home runs, 3 MVP awards, 9 All-Star selections, and 1 Triple Crown. For more than a decade, he was the most feared right-handed hitter in the game, the only man who could stand beside Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig without looking small. And yet, his legacy has often been overshadowed. Ruth's legend grew larger than life. Gehrig's courage in the face of illness made him immortal. Foxx, by contrast, slipped into the background, remembered by historians, but too often overlooked by fans. His decline was so steep, his end so quiet, that many forgot just how dominant he once was. But for those who watched him in the 1,930 seconds, there was no doubt. The beast was more than just power. He was the complete hitter, a man who could bat .350 while blasting 50 home runs. He was the rare slugger who terrified pitchers but also earned their respect. Even opponents admitted that when Foxx came to the plate, you held your breath because anything could happen. Perhaps that's why his story resonates even more today. Jimmie Foxx represents both the glory and the fragility of greatness. His rise was meteoric, his peak nearly unmatched, his fall tragic. In the end, his life is a reminder that baseball's heroes are human, that their triumphs are dazzling, but their struggles are real. Foxx may not carry the same cultural weight as Ruth or Gehrig, but for those who look back closely, he remains one of the true giants of the game. The Beast of Sudlersville still roars through the history books, and his name deserves to be spoken whenever baseball's immortals are remembered.